welcome to another episode of Cosplay Myths Podcast. I am Rebecca, and this is my co-host, Deborah.
Hey!
Hello. So, just to let everyone know, today's episode is not live. It is actually pre-recorded. But we are still very welcoming of questions, and if you have any that we don't answer in the podcast, feel free to leave a comment down below or send an email to Deborah at the email address provided in the comments. If we don't get back to you, or if we think that question is really awesome, we might actually come back to it on a different episode. So, moving on to today's topic is boots, gloves, and accessories. Now, Deborah, what do we mean by accessories other than just boots and gloves, and what else is that?
Yeah, accessories is literally, it could be rings, jewelry, glasses, cosplay-wise, it'll probably be like ears, horns, goggles, hats, and the list kind of goes on. It's anything that isn't like a normal article of clothing.
Makes sense. So let's start with one of the first things. The first thing we mentioned were boots. As many people know, you watch enough anime, you're going to see a lot of really weird boots and footwear. And trying to find that footwear anywhere in the real world is very, very difficult. Now, I suppose it can be done with certain articles of footwear, but other ones you kind of have to MacGyver them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a good example of like something that's gonna be hard to find is like Sailor Moon. Their shoes are well standard size, color, and like the white strip down the middle. You're not gonna find that in your common everyday boots. So like that's definitely one of the more difficult ones for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, like, what are good ways to go about fabricating boots? Because I know, like, Jupiter's boots were green with, like, white laces, and they were kind of like a boot with a small heel. And then you had some of the girls who were wearing, like, high heels. But then Sailor Moon and Sailor Mercury, they were wearing, like, knee-highs that were a primary color with just a white strip. Like,
Yeah.
do you just go out and find a boot that kind of looks similar to that? Do you just like use cloth to fake it, or do you make or do you become a cobbler and make a shoe?
Yeah, so there's actually a lot of different methods. I've actually found recently some YouTubers who actually make the shoes from scratch. So they are essentially shoe cobblers. So there is that one is definitely more difficult option, obviously, because I don't know, but you have no idea how to begin to even how to build a shoe and all of that stuff. So that is an option. I don't recommend it for like beginners who have no idea what they're doing with fabric and things like that. Granted, doesn't mean you can't try. I mean, that's what honestly cosplay is a good first for everybody for things. But there's a couple different methods that I know people that I use, as well as a couple of the cosplayers. One of my favorite methods to do is actually go to thrift stores and find something similar to like the base of the shoe. So say I'm looking for, let's go with Sailor Mars's shoes. Hers is a standard, it's called a kitten heel shoe. So like there's red small pumps. It's I think the most common way to describe them. But they're just a standard with like a heels like this big or tall, I should say. Those ones are really, really easy those kind of shoes are really easy to find. And sometimes, like, honestly, finding red ones is going to be a little bit more difficult. So you can honestly just get that style of shoe and then paint it. There's a lot, depending on the material of the shoe itself, you're going to need to adjust what kind of painting material you use. And that's really easy to find online. I've actually know a lot of cosplayers who just spray paint and then seal the spray paint with, I think it's like Plastidip or the clear one. And then, I don't know, there's a lot of different clear sealants you can use on shoes for cosplay that I've seen people use. one thing me and my roommate have done several times is we'll get one where it's like, okay, the heel is close enough to what we're looking for, but it's not long enough. So in this case, we're trying to build Sailor Moon shoes, her iconic red shoes. You find a small, even like half boot, honestly, would work. And then you get fabric the red fabric that you want the shoe. And one thing you can do is actually you're going to essentially draw a template. You're going to trace your foot facing sideways and then going up your leg. And that's one way that I know some people do it. I do know nowadays there's a lot more, there is some patterns now actually for those who build shoes. So it's actually, you can make boot covers so that this way you're not destroying, because we don't have that many shoe stores up here. So, a $60 pair of shoes and you have to glue fabric onto it and whatnot. So you can actually, there's a lot of patterns that show you how to make shoe covers. So it'll go over the entire shoe except for the heel. And you can just slip those bad boys on and there you go. You got a whole new shoe inside of a shoe.
Which is really important for like if you're making Sailor Moon or Sailor Mercury, both of whom have knee-high boots.
Yeah, knee-high boots are really hard to find just in general. And if you're lucky, if you can find one that fits over your either your calves or your thighs, good heavens, I have the biggest problem finding ones that go over my thighs. They thick.
And not having them cost like an arm and a leg.
That too. While thrift shopping definitely does help, sometimes, you're not always guaranteed to find those kind of shoes, and heaven forbid thigh highs you won't find anywhere except for adult stores, lingerie shops, things like that. But then even then, those suckers, I found a pair that would have been perfect for my cosplays like 3 years ago. Those suckers would have cost me $120. Yep.
No.
Yeah, so I was like, that's a lot for, a pair of thigh-high boots. I love me a good pair of thigh-high boots, but those suckers I could only wear with this cosplay. I couldn't wear them every day, so I'm just like, no. And
now, if you can,
you're balling on a budget.
Yep. Now, if you can swing it in your normal day budget, why not?
If you can afford it, and I could probably save. You can even save up for it. You don't have to spend it all right then and there. But for me, it's just one of those things.
And it's one of those things where it's like you want to start planning more intricate cosplays sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, planning is a huge part, especially when it comes if you are planning on doing a cosplay that has more complicated shoes. That's one of those ones where, like we've said in episodes before, you have to plan ahead for this, because if it's your first time making shoes, you're probably going to need to make a couple different I can't think of the word, but tests. Thank you. Yeah, you're going to need to do a couple different tests, see what material you want to use, and definitely one of those things that you have to look into, because I guarantee your first try is not going to turn out as well as you think it will. That happened with me. Yeah, also, don't use hot glue, guys. Don't use hot glue to glue down your shoes. I know as cosplayers, that's like our go-to glue, but I guarantee you it will save you so much trouble. Just don't do hot glue. Hot glue and fabric just doesn't not mix as well as we think it does.
I'm just, all I think is hot glue on shoe, and you're trying to put it on as you're wearing it, and I'm just like, no. Bad plan.
Yeah.
Very bad plan. Please tell me you didn't do that.
Oh, I did that. I've done that.
Don't do that, people.
It was years ago now, I think. It was my first pair of shoes I was making. I put the shoe on. Thankfully they were knee high, like right below the knee boots. But I had hot glue and I was gluing the fabric onto the shoe as I was wearing it because it was the easiest way to get the fabric to be the shape I needed. And yeah, I didn't burn myself, thank God, except for looking up fingers. But
Well, that's something. I was expecting burns all over the leg.
no, thankfully, like my shoes were high enough, but the shape of the shoe itself was the exact shape I needed the fabric to be anyways. So I lucked out in that case. I don't recommend it for if you're, trying to make knee-high boots out of an ankle boot. I don't recommend that. No.
No, bad plan. Bad,
But
bad,
also,
bad plan.
you can never wear those shoes outside when it's sunny because it will melt.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So hot glue melts in the sun?
It can, yeah. If it gets hot enough or it's direct sunlight, the hot glue doesn't, just like, it just needs to heat up and it'll melt.
I did not know that. But it makes perfect sense now that you say it. So now I'm just kind of like, oh. Yeah, so
no, it's one of those like derma.
Yeah, it's a so yeah. Hot glue melts in very hot sun.
Yeah.
Good life tip.
Yeah. Technically so can other glues, but those ones require like much hotter heat. Something that you would get like in like LA, Los Angeles during their summer. Good example was in LA, it's been like what, 2 years now, I think. I was wearing a pair of heels that I've owned those suckers for 4 or 5 years now. And they're really nice, professionally made shoes. I didn't make these suckers. It was 120 degrees outside. And the glue on the heel of my shoes actually started to melt. And like, I never thought I would ever have that problem of my shoes melting. Who knows how hot the pavement was, but the temperature itself was 100.
I'm just imagining you're literally standing on the sidewalk and your shoes are melting out from under you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like thankfully, like the sole and everything was fine because also when they make the heels, they drill. There's a screw in there, so it's not likely to come apart super easily. But you can feel the glue moving when you walk. And I'm so familiar with these shoes that I feel it. And I'm just like, I looked at my friends. We were going to a food truck to go get food, and I'm like, guys, my shoe is melting. I need to get inside now. And so I think like 2 of us went inside while the other 2 went to go get us food. So, yeah. Yeah. It was a time. But yeah, so there you guys go. That's actually a good point for any accessory as well that you guys make. Be careful what glue you use. Hot glue, while yes, it is your best friend in most cases, just be careful on what you're using it with. Especially shoes. I don't recommend it for shoes. Just
yeah. So small recap. When making shoes, budgets would be key because you're gonna have to, for many of the anime shoes out there, start with something with a base. So you're gonna have to try and MacGyver your shoes. Occasionally, you will be able to find a pre-made shoe, or you might be able to find someone who has made said shoe, and you can just borrow their pattern. Hopefully. If there are any shoemakers out there, good on you. Make awesome shoes. Start making anime shoes and doing consignment business, or commission business.
Yeah. On that note, there is actually a lot more of sites have been starting to come out with anime shoes. I think Micro Costume has started releasing some shoes. I think it was for like Naruto and I think Sailor Moon as well, since those are the more popular animes. But yeah, a couple of sites have started releasing anime shoes. And unfortunately, just like normal shoes, they're expensive. So that's if you're gonna buy them, budget accordingly, whatnot. convince your parents to buy, so on and so forth.
Yep. Yes, no, that's going to be a price tag. Otherwise, be thrifty, be creative. You're cosplayers. Creativity is like, I swear that's what the C stands for, is creativity.
Yeah, honestly. Also, don't be afraid your shoes don't have to be exact. A lot of people don't really care if your shoes are 100% accurate. It's the same thing with the rest of your costume. I can't tell you the number of times I've worn just common sneakers or a pair of common heels they're not at all what the character was wearing, but those are comfy shoes. They're close enough. It works.
Yes. Do not run around barefoot. Please. We say this for many reasons.
Yeah.
We're looking at L cosplayers.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. I know it's very tempting, guys, at cons, and I know it's really annoying when security fusses at you for walking around barefoot. But unless your feet are bleeding, the reason why they are stating that, one, is because of various lawsuits that can happen for you walking around barefoot. But also, I mean, like, do you guys know how, it's not, like, I know some of us don't care about, like, how dirty your feet get because we're going to go clean them off anyways. But someone is going to lose safety, what is this, what is it called, safety pins?
Yeah, it's yeah, safety pins, or they're going to lose a needle, or glass will be broken somewhere, and it's just
don't know what's carpet. So yeah, the last thing the con want is you guys to get hurt. So please wear shoes at cons. I know it's fun to run around barefoot. I did it myself a couple times. Yeah, no, I'm guilty of that actually a couple times. Even with being staff, I ran around in socks last year, but my feet were hurt. I hurt my foot, so it
would have been 2019 actually.
Oh yeah, not last year. Yeah, so 2019.
Yeah, last year we were online.
Yeah, we were online. We were at the studio filming everything. So no, I had slippers on. So yeah, they're running around barefoot for me.
Yep. So yeah, no. And if you guys do wear boots and they're kind of uncomfortable, bring comfortable shoes to change into, or just somehow MacGyver your anime shoe around your comfy shoe.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't look right, just
go ahead.
Oh no, go for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you guys ever look at, I believe her name is Kasumi Cosplayer. She's the one from Germany, I want to say, but she's got these two cute little corgis, and she's well known for her armor cosplays. And one of the things she definitely talks about a lot is like wearing comfy shoes with these suckers. So definitely check her out. She has actually a couple of different patterns on how to make boot covers over different types of shoes. So if you guys have like a favorite pair of like flats that you like and that are really comfortable, you can definitely make a shoe cover to just slip those bad boys in, and there you go. You got comfy shoes that aren't going to pinch.
Yay!
So yeah.
Speaking of slipping things on, we should probably move on to the next topic, which is gloves. Unless we have something else to cover about boots and shoes.
No.
All right, so moving on to... Okay. Well, if we think of something, we'll go back. But either way, gloves. So a lot of anime characters, like, I can think of quite a few anime characters who have very specific gloves. And in recent years, I have seen a lot more availability of various types of gloves where they're like, oh, you need Kakashi's gloves? Go here. You need this type of glove? Go here. But there are still a lot of gloves, like ballroom gown gloves. There is probably a place to buy them, but if you are in Alaska, what do you do? Because the ballroom gown gloves... Yeah. Oh, no, sorry.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about the gloves that go up to like here.
Yes.
Yeah, so those suckers actually, you can actually go to most, I think it was Party World, or was it Party World? Is that
Mm.
the name of the store I'm thinking of?
There's Party World and Party Craft, and might be Party World.
I think it's
Either
Party
way,
World.
it's either
Yeah, yeah. Forgive me, I'm not
one of the
caffeinated right now, so I don't remember.
two. I know
But
there's
yeah, it's
two of
like
them.
yeah. There's two different party stores here. Y'all know what we're talking about probably. But actually, so those are called, I believe, opera gloves, if I'm remembering correctly. Those ones are actually a little bit easier to find nowadays. You can find them at most anywhere that sells costumes will generally have those types of gloves. Now, if you're looking for like the ones that only have like the one finger that go up to there, that's kind of where you got to get a little bit more creative. For those kind of gloves, you kind of have to probably make yourself. Um, and just like with like with boots, you can honestly buy a pair of gloves and alter them. That's probably the simplest way to go about. So yeah, just kind of figure out. Definitely buy because they're really cheap, honestly, especially like those opera gloves. They're very very cheap. Probably go anywhere from like $4 to $8. But buy a pair or two of those. Experiment on one. Use the other as a finish. This way, you kind of get a feel. Don't be afraid to draw on your draft one to figure out like, okay, I just have it just needs like to cover the one finger or whatnot as it goes down. Draw, figure that stuff out. So that's kind of where those ones are a little bit easier. So it's not too bad. The more complicated the glove, the more you're probably going to want to buy it online, unless again you're crafty, which most cosplayers are. So that's where things are going to get a little bit trickier.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because I do remember when we were doing some research for this episode, I actually found like a small tutorial, like a web page that was talking about how you make gloves yourself. And I just remember looking at that and going, that's a lot of work, and I would screw that up so many times. But it would be something important because, like, if you have larger hands or arms that are just not like
The standard
traditional,
size.
the standard size, whatever that is, you would have to figure out how to make your own or how to just work with what you got. Or just kind of modify the cosplay to fit what you can find. Whichever works.
Yeah, making your own gloves, it's definitely a trickier process than anybody wants to admit. But like one of the simplest ways to do it is to honestly get just stretchy fabric, trace your hand on a piece of paper. You're going to want to leave a couple of inches and spread your finger out as far as you can when you're tracing, which is really hard, honestly. But kind of do that, leave a couple inches for seam allowance, and pin it, cut your fabric, sew it, and hope for the best at that point. There's a lot of different ways. There are a lot more tutorials online on like how to best do it, or even nowadays, again, Kasumi Cosplayer and a couple other different cosplayers have released patterns for gloves. I'm not sure how great they are. I haven't tried them myself. I try to avoid cosplays with gloves, honestly. So
yeah.
But also, if the gloves aren't super detailed, you could probably get away with not even wearing them. I had a couple where I didn't even bother with the gloves because one, I didn't have time, and two, just didn't have the mental energy to even begin to try to get those suckers to fit.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a thing. But you did mention stretchy material for gloves. What if you don't want to use the stretchy material to make gloves? How could you make them fit?
That one is definitely where it's going to get more difficult. clearly because you're not going to be using a stretchy material. So say you're using a suede essentially. So uh, I'll just assume everyone knows here what suede is, or even like, let's say cotton. Everyone knows what cotton looks like and feels like. So say you're using like a cotton, there's a little bit of a give, but not a whole lot. And in that instance, obviously, when you're pulling, here is going to be like the thickest part of your hand. Nope, this way. And then you got a thinner part here. So obviously you're going to have this, like, if you make it not stretching, I have this weird thin gap here. We're just bundles. So one thing that I've seen other cosplayers do is actually on the seam line of the side is they will actually either hide a zipper, which there's such a thing as called invisible zippers. You sew them a very specific way into your costume, so the seam line will actually hide the zipper. You'll have a small bump at the end where the zipper, the actual zipper part is, but honestly, with your poses and whatnot, you can easily hide that, and it's not super obvious. As a cosplayer, you will notice it because you're wearing it and you're aware of it. But honest to God, most other cosplayers and viewers aren't going to notice that itty bitty bump. They'll probably just to sum it up to a crease.
Yeah.
So there is that. Some people get like very creative where they do lace up. So just like a corset, you can lace up your gloves. That's obviously going to be more obvious. Same with like buttons. So this way you can just have the seam open on the arm, slide your hand in, and then just button it up. But that is definitely something where you got to have very good measurements. Your seam lines have to be much stronger, more reinforced. So that's definitely something you're going to need to do more research on, and definitely just do tests. That's the best thing you could do.
Yes.
But there are a lot of stretchy materials now, especially again nowadays. I feel so old saying nowadays. Where it looks like other materials. So you can get away with using stretchy material for a lot of things.
And the thing is that cosplay has become much more of a thing now. So it's not just a fringe thing. It's not even in the anime fandom community, cosplay has become more standard. You see it more. You see people put more effort, more time. They make entire careers off cosplaying. Where like 5-10 years ago, you really didn't see that as much.
Yeah. Yeah, there's and even again, like 5-10 years ago, these, the people who are just starting to kind of get more YouTube famous is usually where they started. Or even, what was it? Instagram was generally the time frame as well. I feel so old. I'm trying to remember like what was the most popular social platform at the time. I'm thinking MySpace, but I don't think MySpace was. I think MySpace was gone by that point.
Yeah, because MySpace came out early.
I know it died
high school.
So yeah,
I was in college when when MySpace was the big thing. So that was the early 2000s. Yeah. I remember being introduced to MySpace and going, "Why am I doing this? What is going on? What's happening?"
I was still too young for MySpace. I remember when Facebook started, and my mother was adamant about me not having it and whatnot, and that's a whole other discussion. But back to the topic. But yeah, no, with these cosplayers, like, getting more famous and getting other recognition, it's honestly really, it's expanded the market out there, because they are out there saying, hey, there is a market for this. You guys can make money for this. And I've seen, there's a couple of different stores, and like Los Angeles example, their fashion district, there are places that have more cosplay fabrics because that is a huge market for them. And it's opened it up so much more throughout the years.
Yes.
And so they've definitely opened the gateway for making it easier for smaller cosplayers to find the materials they need.
I want to say Naruto also played a huge role in this because it basically opened up the idea of, oh, hey, there's this anime and people really, really like it. And everybody wants the headbands. And then you had to find this very specific shoe design. And then you needed Naruto's very specific sweater. You had Kakashi's outfit. And where on earth are you going to find Sakura's dress?
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely that like, I think honestly, like the big three animes of time. So it was Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece, which One Piece is still going. I remember when it started. Gosh, like, we're old. Yeah, you guys know we're old. Welcome.
No, we're not.
Yeah, no, those animes definitely really opened, kind of showed other markets that like, hey, you know, people are looking for this consistently. Like I remember like when Bosco's like first started selling like the Naruto headbands and whatnot, and getting more of like this, like a little bit more of like some cosplay stuff in there, and that I remember that to this day.
Yep. And Naruto headbands are still really popular. You still see them all over the place.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of, headbands are one of the accessories. So, whenever you can, try to find them. Naruto headbands are like really easy to find now. You can find them all over the place. You can find them like if you're here in Anchorage, you can find them at Bosco's. You can find them online. With those ones, I know this just from like a little bit of experience, but the better quality they are, the more that metal will bend. Because what's going to happen is that little metal piece, unlike in the show where it wraps around the head, it actually kind of just stands out.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, so and here in Anchorage, isn't that hard?
Mm-mm. It's just finding a quality one that you can wrap around your head properly, or even just fabricating one on your own so that it will fit your head.
Mm-hmm. And that one, it's honestly not that hard because it's such a simple piece. Honestly, you could just, you get the, basic fabric for the base of the headband. You could honestly even use just like basic craft foam for the metal piece. Seal that sucker, whether it be with Mod Podge or Plastic Dip. That's the one I'm looking for. Seal that sucker, paint it with silver paint. You can either draw on the symbol, cut out the symbol. There's a couple different ways you can honestly do it. If you're fancy and have an engraver, a heated engraver, you can just burn this thing in, which I think would be really cool. And yeah, you just either glue it to the thing or there's so many different methods for that. And this way, it looks like real metal. Which, that one, that's a basic, easy accessory to make. That's probably like one of the easiest ones you could go for. Now, I'm saying this because I have experience with foam and I know the steps to take. But if you're beginning, honestly, there's a lot of different, look at different armor cosplayers. They have more experience with foam and whatnot. Those will help you a lot when it comes to making accessories that have foam.
Yeah. Or you could just make do with the pre-made one and just say, it looks good.
Yeah, there is that too. Because I mean, honestly, again, for the Naruto ones, you can find them just about everywhere nowadays. And I think at Bosco, they're like, what, $15-ish, give or take?
10 to 20, depending on quality.
Yeah. Which honestly isn't that bad. And if you don't want to, it's one less thing to make too, if you're making a cosplay. So honestly, that it's kind of worth the investment at that point.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah. Thankfully, like accessories. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
Yeah. Let's say thankfully like with accessories, like nowadays, sorry, I'm just gonna laugh every time I say that now. But thankfully again with accessories, it's easier to find them online. I know like Etsy, like one of the biggest places you can go for like very specific items. If you need one of like Mercy from Overwatch, say you need like one of her hair pieces. I can't tell you the number of times I've seen like hair pieces, just the individual hair pieces being sold by people on there. Or they'll have a thing for like Mercy Cosplay, and like one of the photos, they'll say, "Hey, contact me if you're looking for a specific piece of hers," and you can do that. And yeah, there's so thankfully like again with accessories, because those accessories are probably one of the more harder things to get. Usually, the more complicated it is, the harder it's going to be to make. So sometimes it's just easier to invest and to have someone else make it for you. And there is a market out there now for that as well.
Yes. Well, with cosplaying become more popular, it is, and especially if it's a common character like Nezuko or any of the Naruto characters, or a One Piece character, or any character that's been around for a while and a lot, you're going to have an easier time finding accessories to make your cosplay just have that little bit of detail. And to some degree, that's what accessories are, is they're just that little extra detail.
Yeah. And it's sometimes like they're really nice to have, but also don't stress about them. It's the same thing, like, you know, if any of these boots, gloves, your accessories, hell, even like the glasses of a character, you can substitute it with something else that you can get your hands on, or just not have it at all. Some people aren't going to care if you're missing that specific hairpiece from Mercy. Because honestly, most people are just like, oh my gosh, you're Mercy from Overwatch. Oh my gosh, you know, they're not going to notice.
Yeah.
And so, like, unless you're in a competition, it's not really going to matter that much.
Yeah. Especially if you're not in a competition. If you're just walking around, just cosplay for fun. Just do your thing. Don't worry about what people say, because the actual honesty is Deborah's right. People are just going to be excited to see you. Like, I have seen so many Luffy cosplayers, and some of them are very fancy and some of them are not, but either way, I'm still excited.
Yeah. Let's say I can't tell you, what was it, like 4 or 5 years ago, I actually did a Mercy cosplay. I did Witch Mercy. I did not have her proper shoes. I was just wearing a regular pair of black, like, small comfy slippers, I think, and I didn't have her gloves, and the hat was kind of like And honestly, like, the reaction I still got from the community was kind of like, for me, shocking, because I'm just like, I messed up a lot of details on her outfit. I didn't have everything, but they're just like, oh my gosh, you did Witch Mercy, and they were so excited. Which, for me, who's a kind of perfectionist sometimes, I do forget, like, they just want to see the character. They don't care. And I mean, there's always that one person who cares, but that person can off.
No cursing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But yes, basically speaking, there's always going to be that naysayer, but for the most part, they're just people. They're people who get too wrapped up in the wrong details. So just have fun, do your best. If you mess up, and if it's not perfect, that's okay. Especially if you're not in a competition. If you're in a competition, you may want to put more effort into it, simply because you're going into a competition environment, and those little details might be what get you a good placing. But I mean, if it's your first competition, go in there, have fun, do your thing, and talk to the other contestants. Ask them, like, how much time did you put into this? How did you do that? How did you do this? Because I don't know how many times I've started talking to a cosplayer, like, how did you do that? And they're so like, they're ready to tell you this story of epic proportions of how they made this thing of awesomeness.
Yeah. Yeah, those who compete, hardcore to you guys. That's a whole other level of stress. Honestly, yeah. Yeah, I did it once and never again for me, probably. But that's me. I definitely recommend at least trying a competition out just once, though, honestly. Whether it be store bought or you made it yourself. Because they do have categories for that as well. So definitely give it a try. It's if you don't have extreme anxiety about, or a medical condition that you can't do it for whatever reason, I definitely recommend trying it because it's an experience. And then honestly, like 90% or 99% of like the competition, they don't care you're competing against them. They just want to talk. They want to geek out as much as you do. And you can learn so much. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you the number of times I've had a competitor I'd speak to someone who's in the cosplay contest and be like, hey, how did you get that seam line? And like we'll end up like discussing statistics and all that other jazz about how to get the stupid fabric to work and all that.
Yep. Yes. All right. But yeah, no, so that's the fun thing. By the way, going back to a topic we were talking or something you mentioned, you were talking about Mercy's hat, and that reminds me, one of the accessories oftentimes you have to figure out is a hat. How do you go about making a hat? Because like animal ears, tails, horns, all of those things can pretty much be MacGyvered, or you can buy them. And I'm sure the furry community has like whole rafts of tutorials and things. So if you're looking for something with cat ears or a tail or something, definitely check out the furry community. They probably have more information than anyone else out there.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no, I've actually learned quite a bit, even just like for buying fur itself. The furry community knows a lot about like the quality and all that. So I know a lot of people are iffy about the community because it's not your standard. It hasn't been a standard part of the cosplay community for such a long time. But now, obviously nowadays, they've joined the cosplay community much more, which it's absolutely been great. I've met a wonderful number of furry cosplayers, and their mastery of anything animal wise, they're great. Definitely check them out. There's a lot of websites you can actually go for tutorials and all that jazz. As for hats is an interesting one. So just like anything, you could buy a base of a hat and build off of that. The more intricate the hat, though, you're probably going to want to make it yourself. Or again, there's a lot of different ways. One thing that I did, because when I did Devil Mercy, I did have a hat, and she has a hat. So it's your standard witch hat, but at the very, towards like the middle end, it does like a zigzag. And so I had to kind of figure out a way to get it to do the zigzagging. And I did that through wiring. Wasn't the best experiment, but it was my first time making a hat. But there are one thing that I am known to do is I will do what's called Frankensteining patterns. I'll take certain pattern pieces and then build off of those pattern pieces. So, you got your brim. I use a pattern piece for the brim and I extended it out a few inches. So, you get that nice big wide hat. I don't know about you. I love the big wide witch hats.
Yes.
But yeah.
How do you keep those from flopping down on you?
So there's a material called interfacing, actually. Interfacing is it depends on what kind of interfacing you are using, but it is used commonly in like corsets and hats, actually, to stiffen the material. And some of it can be as thick as cardboard, as same stiffness as well as cardboard, but it is washable, so you're not worrying about like washing cardboard and whatnot. Because I do know there way back when people used to use cardboard for stiffening of the kind of hats and whatnot, but you can't wash it, so kind of gets gross.
Yeah.
But yeah, interfacing is a washable material. Some of it's fusible, so it'll actually merge with the other material. So it's like one piece pretty much. There's a lot of different types of interfacing, but that's how you can get the stiffness. And that's what I used for my brim. I used I don't remember which kind of interfacing it was, but it was a very thick interfacing. Sewed it into the fabric, and then just kind of built it around the hat.
Okay.
But yeah.
And then I know, like with witches' hats, they usually stand up. Did you use interfacing in that, or just a different type of fabric?
I used interfacing halfway up the hat, but because I needed it to bend a certain way, I only did it, I think it was from like here and then up like a few inches, and then I did a wiring system, which I should have added more wire. But at the time it was a test. But I did wiring because I had to do the zigzagging thing. So I didn't build it up too high, and then with the interfacing, but the interfacing gave it enough structure that I could get the wiring to go up and then zigzag and hold the fabric in place.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because I remember in 2018, I thought about making a witch hat because we had that wonderful, very cute mascot for SenshiCon, and she had this most adorable witch hat, and I was like, I need that hat.
I'm trying to think which one that was. Oh wait, I know, the rose one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm looking. I've got my badges right across from me, so I'm like looking. I'm like,
Which one? Oh yes, that one.
Yeah.
Yes, no, I absolutely loved it. And one of the things I think I was talking to Alyssa, one of our staff members, and asking her like, how would I make this? And she was talking about something similar to what you were talking about. Is that because I kind of looked at it and was like, I remembered a witch hat I had as a kid, and it was thin fabric, and then I think at the end of the witch's hat it was like a wire, and that just like the wire was taut enough that it would just stay.
Yeah, there is that was one of the older methods. If you wanted a thinner brim. I remember that. I think it entirely depends on the material you're using, but you could in theory do that. But yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do, and just it kind of depends on the material you're using. I was using a very thin fabric, so I had to have interfacing.
Yeah, and this was the witch hat I had as a kid. It literally was one of those costume store witch hats, so it was like, yay, pretty. It works.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Halloween stores are your best friend up here. So if sadly enough, the Halloween store, actually I think it opens up right around the time SenshiCon is about to happen. So it's a great place to get those last minute things, or if you're a person who plans ahead, to go and shop there for little accessories to modify for future cosplays.
Yeah, like if you know that you're going to be cosplaying something that needs prosthetics, and say you go to Spirit Halloween and you find the one there, and you're going to be doing it next year, just pick that sucker up.
Yes, because then it's one less thing to have to try and find during the time of year when there's not a lot of Halloween stuff around.
Yeah. And granted, a lot of I think it was Party World. I'm just going to say it's Party World has it. Usually there's a couple, there is that Party World store that has quite a bit of like Halloween-y stuff, but sometimes it's always a hit or miss. Like if you need a specific
Mm,
mask, you're there's a
yeah.
50% chance they have it, but also probably don't have it.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, no. And that's just one of the things is sometimes you've just got to take opportunity and it's like, oh, hey, yay. Oh, speaking of opportunities, I have one last question.
Mhm.
Goggles. How on earth do you, like, I know you can buy goggles, but like, say we're making, because Digimon, it's kind of one of those things where the main character always has a pair of goggles. How would you like if you can buy them? Yes, you probably just want to buy the little devils, but if you have to
Yeah.
make those things, how?
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah.
make
So
goggles?
goggles. So the number of ways that you can make goggles is kind of astonishing. Um, I know there was one person that used toilet paper rolls, like old toilet paper rolls, would cut those down, add some foam on the back, or sorry, not on the back, on the sides just to kind of thicken them, and then would actually get, those clear folder dividers that you can see through? They would get those for the film, glue those suckers inside, add more foam for like a rimming, and then uh, elastic for the things, and you can just kind of build it off of that. But yeah, I know like that was a really popular way, like way back when. Um, I know it's really weird thinking toilet paper rolls, right? But
But at the same
actually,
time, it's like that's true cosplay creativity right
yeah,
there.
yeah. Honestly, there's a surprising number of things you can use with toilet paper rolls. I've seen people make gauntlet or like arm pieces. I think it's called gauntlets, or I don't know. I'm not caffeinated
Yeah.
enough to remember them. Um, they've done that. They've yeah, number of type of goggles. You're looking at. There's rings, horns. I've seen them make horns. Actually, I'm about to try a
The
tutorial
horns I can
myself.
see.
Yeah, I'm about to try a tutorial myself that uses paper rolls um, to make horns. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, goggles. There's so many different numbers of ways other than just your standard buying. So that one I can't even begin to go into the number. But that's one method to
Oh,
do it.
yeah. Buying or using paper towel rolls or being creative.
Toilet rolls or
Paper tape, whichever. The paper towel roll, the toilet paper roll. I just, I now I want to see that because that sounds awesome. Kudos to
yeah.
that person for doing outside the box, but also really very much inside the box for cosplaying because it's like, well, I want to make a thing. I need a thing. How do I make the
Mm-hmm.
thing?
Yeah.
Make it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it.
There's
But I think that's just true cosplaying because in the end it's like, oh, I need to make this thing, I'll use whatever I have available. And that was probably it's probably still very much true for the cosplay community now, but back
mm-hmm.
10, 15 years ago, it was like, oh goodness, even when cosplaying was first started, you just kind of used whatever you had available to make what you needed.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was definitely the case because there was not a market at all for stuff for cosplay. You had uh like when I was starting out, you had to get creative and hope for the best because there weren't a whole lot of tutorials out there. Um, And even if you, I know like a lot of tutorials that I found as a kid when I first started, it was all on DeviantArt. That was like one of the main places to go for cosplay tutorials was DeviantArt. And that's still true to this day. I still find some of my best tutorials on DeviantArt.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So are there any more accessories we need to go over? Oh, there is one thing in
No.
the notes. It's don't forget to try and add hidden pockets into your boots, people. Be assassins.
Yes. Yes, that is actually, yeah, there are, I mean, if you're making your boots, honestly, like assassins have hidden pockets in their boots. There's a lot of shoes nowadays that have hidden pockets in their boots. So yeah, it's really good, especially if you just want to carry around your ID and credit card. Pop those ones are really easy because they're flat. So definitely, but also hidden pocket, like that's the best thing ever.
Yeah, that's where you can stash the hotel key, your ID, and your credit card. Boom.
Yeah.
You have everything. You don't need to carry a purse.
Yeah, and if you have a pocket, you don't have to worry about it sinking to your bottom of your shoe. So you're stepping on it and getting your gross feet sweat all over it. Ugh. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, the only other accessory. Yeah. The only other accessory I could think of is the only other accessory I could think of is a purse. By the way, everybody, there is a slight delay in how we're hearing each other. So that's why we keep interrupting each other by accident. But anyway, purses. I'm assuming it's like everything else we've talked about. You just, if you can find something close, you buy that and MacGyver it into what you want. Or you might be able to luck out and somebody has already made it for you. But if you can, be creative and or just do without. It's not the end of the world if you do without.
Yeah. Honestly, though, also, if you are by yourself in cosplay, going to a con, and like say like you're meeting up with somebody, even then, like you don't your backpack or bag does not have to match your cosplay. A lot of photographers and other cosplayers know, like you've got other crap in there. Say you got to change of clothes and all that. They get it. We get it. We don't really care. Because you know. You got to make sure, you know, you've got your water, your wallet, your keys, and who knows what else you're carrying with you. So
medication, anything like that.
Yeah. Or sometimes don't even like snacks, like, you know, diabetic, all that stuff.
Yes. Or your purchases of the day.
That too. Yes. Because some stalls nowadays don't give you bags, which I get. I totally understand. But sometimes I'm just like, I have so much stuff I can't carry.
Yep. But yeah, no, I think we've covered most accessories. For a quick recap, cosplaying has become more of an industry now. There are more people out there where you can buy or commission pieces that you want to buy. Otherwise, you can just buy something that is close enough and modify it to what you want it to be, and or just do your best. If you don't have the perfect shoe, if you don't have the perfect goggles or gloves, it's not the end of the world. If you decide, you know what, I'm not wearing those high heels, I am doing tennis shoes, or I am doing sandals, awesome. Just please do not go barefoot. Please.
Yeah.
Thank you. But other than that, if you guys do have any questions, remember this was a pre-recorded episode, but we are always open for questions. And so if you have any, leave them in the comments. We'll get back to them. Or you can email Deborah at the email address left in the comments. Also, we are still looking for horror stories of cosplaying.
Yeah, definitely send your guys' stories again to the email in the comments, and it should be in the description as well for you. But send it there. You guys can send it anonymously. Yes, anonymously. Or if you guys want to give your name, we will do that, or we'll keep it anonymous for you. But yeah, we just want to know, like, what weird stuff has happened to you guys in your cosplay. Has something gone terribly wrong, or does something weird always happen to you while you're in cosplay? Because we all have that one story that comes to mind. Something bad just goes wrong, and I don't know about you guys, but I love hearing those stories. It's some of my favorite things to talk about with other cosplayers. I myself will be sharing a few of my horror stories. Yes, compare the horror stories. I myself will be sharing a few of my own, so you guys will get to hear my embarrassing stories. So yeah, come share, join. We will eventually be doing a video on good things that happen, clearly, because we don't want just the embarrassing stuff. But honestly, we all know the embarrassing stuff is sometimes more fun.
Well, yes, they're the war stories.
Yes. Yeah, send us your guys' stories and everything here. And once again, email down below.
Yep. Well, thank you for joining us for another episode of Cosplay Myths. If you have any suggestions for future episodes, feel free to leave a comment, send an email. We're always looking for next subjects. We will see you again in 2 weeks on a Saturday at 2:15. YouTube, same place, same time. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.